All right, we're going to talk about stress, calm, and the biology of courage, which is very cool. You like it. All right, so stress isn't bad for us because when we're excited, that's stress, right? Because our body's either on or off, or or activated or relaxed, activated with positive emotion or activated with negative emotion. Activated with negative emotion is stress, right? So you can think of stress as pressure on the mind body system. When we do good stuff like get married or do something super fun and exciting, it requires energy of the system. So that's also called stress, right? And stress where we feel like hungry, that's a kind of stressor. Those things are to get us up and moving. So stress is a movement based thing. It's to get us up and moving and doing things. They actually have a term for good stress. It's called eustress. So this can help us reframe our thinking of stress because we tend to lump it all into one pile. But basically, jumping out of a parachute, loving what you do, dancing at a rave party, having a blast at the park, playing frisbee, all of these things require energy of the body. And so they require stress. They take a little bit of a toll. And so we have to have recovery, right, to recover from those. But the ones that have negative emotions tagged onto them, those are the ones that we call negative stress. So eustress is adrenaline plus positive emotions. And one of the big elements of this is that we feel enough of a sense of control. Like if we're riding on a roller coaster, if we feel that we're having a great time and screaming and laughing because we know that the roller coaster is going to stay on the track. But if it goes off the track, then that's distress, right? So this is upsetting stress where it's associated with the fight, flight, freeze response, anger, fear, or freeze, which is like depression, right? So that's distress, blowing it. Something happens that upsets us and brings in the negative. So stress is a natural part of our lives. We need it. We need some of it to grow stronger, right? A metaphor I like to use is the gym, going to the gym or working out or what it takes to get your body stronger. You want to stress it just the right amount. Too much hurts the body, not enough, and the body becomes lackadaisical and into lamaze, right? So we obviously need just the right amount of stress. And that's what we want to tune into is where is the stress in our body? Do we have just the right amount? So go ahead and jot that down in the chat. Would you say that you're in relaxed and groovy phase, eustress, or moving into de-stress, which means you have just the right amount of stress, not enough stress, or too much stress? You could think of it that way. Too much calm would be not enough, say, stress or not enough activation of the body. So, Autumn, I shall help you. Reach out. So, if you're in distress, you need to go into self-care to take care of yourself. When we're in distress, what we have to do is shift our energy into helping ourselves get back over into this system. That's where more of the energy goes. And we need to reach out to those who can help us strategize and find ways and or implement all the self-care things that we can think of. That's what that week should be about. That extra week I mentioned should be about self-care, how we can ideas and a plan for how we can take care of ourselves, because that's what we have to do, right? We have to take care of ourselves in order to be able to manage and care for the world out there. So we have to become masters at knowing that when we move into a state, when we experience too much, it's usually from too much, right? Like an injury happens from too much, and it can be because of a fall, or it can be from pushing too hard at a workout, or all kinds of things, right? So physical injury is too much. And when we're in distress, we're dealing with mental and emotional too much. And so we want to take a step back and figure out how we can nourish ourselves back to health in the same way that you would nourish yourself back to health after physically hurting yourself. We don't think of it that way, but that is the wise path. And it's obvious to you now, right? Because it's difficult for us to go forward. And I totally get it, because we weave in and out of these different states. we will intermittently, we will move into a distressed state. Things happen, right? So the whole idea is how we can nourish ourselves and take care of ourselves through that period. This is just another way of saying what it says here, that the goal isn't, we can reframe how we think about stress, that we don't necessarily want to get rid of it, but we want to foster eustress, or the pleasant and enjoyable experiences, the playful experiences, the things that regenerate us, that build calm. Let's breathe into our center, while being able to manage our distressful states, which basically means take care of them until we feel better, finding our way, figuring out what things will help us shift over. Now, our stress response system is called the nervous system. So you can think about when we're nervous. I feel so nervous. It's the nervous system. So when neuroscientists say our brain runs through our whole body, you can see our brain up here. It's moving through the spinal cord, connects up there with the medulla, and then it runs down through the spinal cord, and the brain nerve fibers are all running through the spinal cord. That creates that feeling of your stomach plummeting, or your heart feeling excited about seeing somebody, and things like that, right? All these emotional responses are coming off of our spinal cord and through all these nerves that run through the rest of our body, including connecting to our organs in the middle of our body. Okay, let's take a nice breath. So the nervous system. And our nervous system is basically like a seesaw. It's either activated or relaxed, activated or relaxed, chill, going or chill, right? So we're either going positive, yay, or going, stressed out, or we're chill, positive, And if we're low energy, negative, we're in a depressed state. We don't recover in that, right? So we need positive emotion for the system to be balanced, at least enough, at least the relaxation level of positive emotion. So the sympathetic, we have two branches, two levels of what's called the autonomic, think automatic, autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. The sympathetic is when we're energized. The parasympathetic is when we're relaxed. So when we did that deep breath, we activated the parasympathetic system that helps us feel relaxed, right? So imagine doing that all the time, where your baseline is resting in that relaxed state. So what's showing here is that the spinal cord and these nerves go to all these organs. So when you're in a sympathetic state, all the energy goes to your hands and feet, and so that you can run and move and do stuff, and away from your digestion. Away from the digestion. So when you're energized, you're not digesting, because the body can't put energy everywhere at the same amount, all at the same time. And when you're resting, in a positive resting state is when you do digestion. And it's also when you do immune system repair, when you're in the relaxation state or the parasympathetic system. So sympathetic is simply active, right? And parasympathetic is relaxed and calm. And parasympathetic is when we rest, digest, and immune repair. So when people spend too much time energized, they get digestive problems because they're not spending enough time in the relaxed system. So remember to breathe down into your belly. You can see it repeated here. The parasympathetic system, relaxed, happy, mellow, resting, calm, enables our body to rejuvenate, digest, and repair, do immune system. And the sympathetic system is simply moving, simply get moving. It's the gas pedal on. So sympathetic can be positive and energized, or distressed with the fight or flight. So depending on the emotional valence, or the emotional that it's tagged with, positive emotion or negative emotion. Energy with positive emotion, energy with negative emotion, right? Fear or anger. And parasympathetic can be relaxed or called, or the freeze of depression, where or anxiety can create a freeze response too, where you're, I love this cup. This is my Alaska cup. And I look at this cup and I think, this feels like me. They call this a self-object in psychology, something that kind of feeds back your idea of yourself to yourself. And I was laughing because I feel like I would love to be the kind of person that would live in Alaska, but I'm not, because it would be too cold for me. But I love the way it makes me feel like I'm a rugged Alaskan type, but I'm not really. So anyway, depressed and the freeze response. So you can see sympathetic, energized, parasympathetic, calm, and then positive emotion mixed with each one, right? So optimal functioning when, and you guys know this intuitively from your experience, but optimal functioning is when there's a balance, when you feel alert, slightly challenged, but not too challenged, not overwhelmed, right? So you're alert, slightly challenged, which means you pretty much have positive emotions going with it. If you feel overwhelmed, do you guys have a class that makes you feel overwhelmed? A lot of times students, when they're taking certain classes, it's like too much, and then they move into distress. They tag that class with distress, and then their limbic system starts hijacking them, right? And they move into learned helplessness. Oh my God, I can't do this. And it creates this whole cycle where they have to fight to keep going and make it through. They have to really push their prefrontal lobes to give themselves encouragement or reach out to other people for encouragement, right? So there is an optimal, and it's good to know what gives you, or what kind of environments, and get yourself in the environment that supports your optimal state. So while a moderate level of stress is great for functioning, and what is considered moderate will be different for each one of us, we still absolutely have to have downtime to renew and recover. That relaxed and groovy time is required for your digestion and your immune function. So you now have an excuse for it. Okay, we really need it. Fight or flight takes a lot of energy that needs to be offset by the parasympathetic rest and digest, or we wear down. Now, here's a couple of terms. Chronic stress is stress that goes on for a long period of time. If you're working while also going to school or raising kids, if you've got multiple roles that you're playing, that's kind of like a chronic stress. It's a push, right? Acute stress is when you have a single major stressor, like you get into a car accident or a breakup, right? Or a member of your family gets sick. Okay. We had the acute stress of COVID hit, but then it turned into a chronic long-term stressor, right? That we've all been dealing with. Of course, we've also, as a species, been adapting to it incredibly well. If you look at some of the history of prior pandemics in human history, you'll be impressed with how we've handled this as a global community, even though obviously we made lots of mistakes, but still. So too much time rushing, feeling pressure and stressed out depletes our immune system. This is chronic stress, and it does wear us out. It's basically having the gas pedal all the time with which is adrenaline. So with too much negative emotion, cortisol makes it even worse, right? Cortisol is like pepper. In just the right amount, it's great, but too much, it ruins the dish, right? So we got to watch it for that cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So long periods of chronic stress, and check this out if you've noticed this in yourself. We could say that this has been happening to everybody to some extent, dealing with the chronic stress of COVID. Okay. Becoming hyper vigilant, feeling more negative than positive around us, feel more negative arousal, like more quicker to feel negative emotions, and less impulse control. I think that in a sense summarizes a lot of things that people have been feeling or expressing that they've been feeling going through this pandemic, the stressors of dealing with the pandemic, which can develop a hot set point that shows up as easily triggered anger or anxiety. So if we notice that we're very quickly triggered more quickly than before, we know our set point has moved up so that we're more easily set off. The good news is that we can reset our stress point. And this is a great time for all of us to do this. It's spring, it's time for a reset, right? It's time for a transformation. That's what this season is all about. So we are the only species that can choose to transform our stress reaction. That's neuroplasticity, right? We can transform the response itself by consciously shifting from sympathetic to parasympathetic. 3 tools, the in for 3 breath. Well, the in for 3 breath is a good one, but the HRV breath is the way to live, the way to live, the way to live. The in for 3 breath is a nice transition to the HRV breath. So I'll show it to you. Guided relaxation and how we think. I think we're going to run through each of these. So I know the words are weird, sympathetic and parasympathetic. I mean, where are those words? But they are the nervous, the sympathetic is all the nerves that get us all able to move and be energized, and parasympathetic are all the nerves that enable us to be relaxed. Okay. Now we can instantly stimulate the parasympathetic, the relaxation system. We can create multiple moments of physical, we can activate that, like we could push that button multiple times during the day, and it's largely through our breath, which seems so simple but so powerful. And so this is Huberman of Stanford. He's got a podcast, he's amazing, and he's going to be talking about the triple inhale breath, which is super simple. You just go So that's really all it is. And the triple inhale breath enables us does stimulate our parasympathetic system. And it's a great way to lead into, now go back into the long, slow breaths whenever you're, the long, slow breathing, whenever you've caught yourself like breathing shallowly. Okay, so this is Andrew Huberman. Very impressive scientist from Stanford. He's got a new podcast. I stay pretty up on the literature, and every time I watch him, I learn something. He's fantastic. So here we go.
Breathing impact brain states, sleep, hormone levels, etc. And physiological sighs, which you mentioned, were discovered in the 30s, which are a spontaneous pattern of breathing that people and animals do, where they inhale twice and then exhale longer. So it's inhale.
So you'll notice I breathed in, and then I snuck in a little bit more air on a second inhale, and then I gave a long exhale.
So it's double inhale followed by an exhale. Typically the inhales are through the nose and the exhales through the mouth, although not always. We do that spontaneously during sleep. We do it under conditions of claustrophobia when carbon dioxide in the bloodstream gets too high. This is nature's way of offloading carbon dioxide, because that second inhale maximally expands the alveoli sacs of the lungs, which then pulls carbon dioxide into the lungs, and then you offload more carbon dioxide on the exhale.
So if you offload more carbon dioxide, you take in more oxygen from your blood when you breathe in, which regenerates your cells. Okay, so Huberman's the one on the left, and we'll finish watching it. But what he's basically showing, and let's do it, just try it now. So easy. And you can breathe out of your mouth to let that one go, and then let that be the launch or the instigator for the long, slow breathing that you drop into your belly. And
seen in animals, seen in humans. It's reflexive, but you can also do it deliberately. So through some consulting work with various groups, we've been testing this in the laboratory. We've been looking at this, how physiological size, in my understanding and from what I've seen, it's still preliminary, but seems to be the fastest way to adjust your stress level down. And you can do this while walking down the hall. So that's a real-time tool. We've somehow lost track of the fact that stress can mobilize us. Stress is good for the immune system in short periods of time. So much like heart rate variability is good, we now know that you want a lot of...
Okay, the long, slow breath, here he is talking about heart rate variability. Okay, the long, slow breathing in and out of your belly is heart rate variability breathing. It's called HERV breathing. So heart rate variability breathing synchronizes, he's talking about it here, it synchronizes your lungs and your heart, so everything's in tune. Everything's running really efficiently, and your relaxation system kicks in. So the double inhale breath, or triple, however you want to do it, and then let that start you with your belly breathing, and a longer exhale, right? And when you exhale, you can feel your spine push against those parasympathetic nerves that lie against your
heart
spine.
rate variability across the day. You want stress level variability. And so we shouldn't be so dismayed about a spike in stress. Now, it's spikes in stress that we don't come down from that are problematic. And so having tools like physiological size or having a breathwork practice can be very powerful. I'm a big fan of real-time tools because they are based on neurons and neural circuits that we all have built into us. There's no learning involved. You have to know what to do, but once you know what to do, you can do it first time and every time. It's Mother Nature's design. She designed these. When you see something in the brains and nervous systems of all species, including humans, that achieves the same purpose, there's a good chance that it was designed for that purpose. There are some practices that involve lying down, and it's not meditation and it's not hypnosis, but listening to a script that has you doing long exhale breathing combined with a sort of body scan and done for about 10 minutes a day. Our lab has found that, first of all, it puts the body and brain into deep states of relaxation that mimics sleep. Really activating that serotonergic parasympathetic pathway is possible using these tools. Some of my work with people in foreign and domestic military special operations, those guys use these tools sometimes to try and decompress so that they can lean back into what is arguably the highest risk, highest consequence profession of all, right? They're putting their life on the line every time they deploy. But what you're really talking about is training your parasympathetic nervous system to engage on demand. Your ability to switch back into a relaxed parasympathetic state is going to dictate how well you're going to be able to perform when that next patient comes in or that next key event in life hits.
Ta-da! Okay, sorry about the really bad synchronization of the, but you get it, right? And here he is. We can control, we can have some control over activating our relaxation system. So I'm going to send you, he's describing exactly what I'm sending you, video, and try it at bedtime. And remember, now, training your parasympathetic nervous system to engage and be stronger with regular relaxing meditations. This Yoga Nidra meditation is a wonderful one to listen to when you go to bed. It walks you through letting go of micro parts of your body. So it's a great right before sleep meditation. The chances that you'll drift off to sleep afterwards are very high. Huberman does this one in particular several times a week, as well as the meditation that I'm going to send to you guys, the heart rate variability. Well, it's just a relaxation. Long, slow breaths out of your belly. So let's do a double inhale breath. Release. And then start breathing in and out of your belly with long, slow breaths, that continuous flow from one to the next. And notice the center of your body dropping down to the center. Yeah, that will create such relaxation. You will be amazed. You have control. You can control being more relaxed. Now, if your mind's freaking out, no, it won't be powerful enough. You're going to have to reach out for support and get out of being freaked out. So this is something you want to practice on a regular basis so that when stuff does happen. All right, so using your mind and imagination. One of the things that we've learned is that when we focus on one thing, like our cell phone, that takes energy and uses the sympathetic or it's like you don't think you're stressed out doing stuff on your cell phone, and you're not. But it's using focused energy is experienced as requiring effort by our brain. So we relax with diffused attention, like not focusing in. This is why we won't necessarily regenerate if we're staring at TikTok videos for 2 hours. It's like we're not, we'll feel more amused. We'll be regenerated in the sense that we might have shifted our mind to laughter and feeling amused and enjoyed it, but we won't feel the relaxation that comes from not focusing our attention. It's a very left brain activity. So we get that other kind of relaxation of our system, like our bodily system, when we diffuse our attention, and we also reboot, like we give the left brain a break. And we can do that by going out in nature, because our eyes, when we see things out of our peripheral vision, that's when our body's in a diffused state, and we can relax better. That's why going outside is one of the main reasons going outside really helps us, because we look at the world and nature in a broader way, which activates our right hemisphere instead of the focusing, specific, pinned down left hemisphere. It gives the left hemisphere a break, gives it time to regenerate, and our right hemisphere time to energize, which likes to look at the big picture and put all the little pieces together into a whole. So you can see how we need, like other ways that you do that is when you're just chilling and laughing with a friend, right? Or hugging your dog, for example. You're not focusing in, right? You're relaxed. You're in a diffused state. You see what I mean? So it's more diffused, and even letting your eyes be diffused is really helpful. So this is a great thing to be aware of relative to your mind, that we need to give our mind diffused time. Activities like coloring actually do that, because the movements can be done automatically, so you don't have to focus in, right? You can sort of do it from a more diffused place, okay, rather than trying to focus. So we do need breaks from focusing. Now we're going to close our lecture with a really good video. This is Kelly McGonigal, and it's always one of students' favorite videos. And it's how to make stress your friend. And so we just want to look at these quiz questions that we want to be aware of, that we're going to learn about during this. And I'll ask you a couple of things, these when it's over. So one of the things Kelly talks about at the very beginning is that the difference between people who, remember at the beginning of this talk, we talked about eustress is a positive kind of stress. And even Huberman mentioned that we don't need to look at stress as all bad, because we need some intermittent stressors just to stay alive and engaged with life, right? But if they go on for a long time, it wears us out. So what happened with people who had a lot of stress, who did not view stress as harmful, right? So they have very stressful lives, but they don't think of it as stressful. What happened with them? How can we change how we think about stress to help us be healthier? What does the hormone oxytocin do? Have you heard of that hormone? Oxytocin, the love hormone. How is the hormone oxytocin related to stress, and what is it trying to get us to do? I really want you to know the answer to this question. Okay. And are you laughing at love? And then when we view our stress response as helpful, we create the biology of blank. Very cool. And when we connect with others under stress, we create blank. Okay. So we are going to watch Kelly now. Allow. This is a really good video. You'll like it a lot. She's very good. She's like Laurie Santos. She's really good.
Basically, I've turned stress.
Okay. I have to start at the very beginning, because she says,
Won't you just raise?
I'm a health psychologist.
I want you to make a little confession to me. In the past year, won't you just raise your hand if you've experienced relatively little stress? Anyone? Mm-hmm. How about a moderate amount of stress? Who's experienced a lot of stress? Yeah, me too. But that is not my confession. My confession is this. I'm a health psychologist, and my mission is to help people be happier and healthier. But I fear that something I've been teaching for the last 10 years is doing more harm than good. And it has to do with stress. For years, I've been telling people stress makes you sick. It increases the risk of everything from the common cold to cardiovascular disease. Basically, I've turned stress into the enemy. But I've changed my mind about stress. And today, I want to change yours. Let me start with the study that made me rethink my whole approach to stress. This study tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? And then they used public death records to find out who died. Okay, some bad news first. People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of dying. But that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. People who experienced a lot of stress but did not view stress as harmful were no more likely to die. In fact, they had the lowest risk of dying of anyone in the study, including people who had relatively little stress. Now, the researchers estimated that over the 8 years they were tracking deaths, 182,000 Americans died prematurely, not from stress, but from the belief that stress is bad for you. That is over 20,000 deaths a year. Now, if that estimate is correct, that would make believing stress is bad for you the 15th largest cause of death in the United States last year, killing more people than skin cancer, HIV, AIDS, homicide. You can see why this study freaked me out. Here I've been spending so much energy telling people stress is bad for your health. So this study got me wondering, can changing how you think about stress make you healthier? And here the science says yes. When you change your mind about stress, you can change your body's response to stress. Now, to explain how this works, I want you all to pretend that you are participants in a study designed to stress you out. It's called the social stress test. You come into the laboratory and you're told you have to give a 5-minute impromptu speech on your personal weaknesses to a panel of expert evaluators sitting right in front of you. And to make sure you feel the pressure, there are bright lights and a camera in your face, kind of like this. And the evaluators have been trained to give you discouraging nonverbal feedback, like this. Now that you're sufficiently demoralized, time for part 2, a math test. And unbeknownst to you, the experimenter has been trained to harass you during it. Now, we're gonna all do this together. It's gonna be fun for me. Okay. I want you all to count backwards from 996 in increments of 7. You're gonna do this out loud as fast as you can, starting with 996. Go. Go faster. Faster, please. You're going too slow. Stop, 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 stop. That guy made a mistake. We're gonna have to start all over again. You're not very good at this, are you? Okay, so you get the idea. Now, if you were actually in this study, you'd probably be a little stressed out. Your heart might be pounding, you might be breathing faster, maybe breaking out into a sweat. And normally we interpret these physical changes as anxiety or signs that we aren't coping very well with the pressure. But what if you viewed them instead as signs that your body was energized, was preparing you to meet this challenge? Now, that is exactly what participants were told in a study conducted at Harvard University. Before they went through the social stress test, they were taught to rethink their stress response as helpful. That pounding heart is preparing you for action. If you're breathing faster, it's no problem. It's getting more oxygen to your brain. And participants who learned to view the stress response as helpful for their performance, well, they were less stressed out, less anxious, more confident. But the most fascinating finding to me was how their physical stress response changed. Now, in a typical stress response, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels constrict like this. And this is one of the reasons that chronic stress is sometimes associated with cardiovascular disease. It's not really healthy to be in this state all the time. But in the study, when participants viewed their stress response as helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed like this. Their heart was still pounding, but this is a much healthier cardiovascular profile. It actually looks a lot like what happens in moments of joy and courage. Over a lifetime of stressful experiences, this one biological change could be the difference between a stress-induced heart attack at age 50 and living well into your 90s. And this is really what the new science of stress reveals, that how you think about stress matters. So my goal as a health psychologist has changed. I no longer want to get rid of your stress. I want to make you better at stress. And we just did a little intervention. If you raised your hand and said you'd had a lot of stress in the last year, we could have saved your life. Because hopefully the next time your heart is pounding from stress, you're going to remember this talk and you're going to think to yourself, this is my body helping me rise challenge. And when you view stress in that way, your body leaves you and your stress response becomes healthier. Now, I said I have over a decade of demonizing stress to redeem myself from. So we are going to do one more intervention. I want to tell you about one of the most underappreciated aspects of the stress response. And the idea is this: stress makes you social. To understand this side of stress, we need to talk about a hormone, oxytocin. And I know oxytocin has already gotten as much hype as a hormone can get. It even has its own cute nickname, the cuddle hormone, because it's released when you hug someone. But this is a very small part of what oxytocin is involved in. Oxytocin is a neurohormone. It fine-tunes your brain's social instincts. It primes you to do things that strengthen close relationships. Oxytocin makes you crave physical contact with your friends and family. It enhances your empathy. It even makes you more willing to help and support the people you care about. Some people have even suggested we should snort oxytocin to become more compassionate and caring. But here's what most people don't understand about oxytocin. It's a stress hormone. Your pituitary gland pumps this stuff out as part of the stress response. It's as much a part of your stress response as the adrenaline that makes your heart pound. And when oxytocin is released in the stress response, it is motivating you to seek support. Your biological stress response is nudging you to tell someone how you feel instead of bottling it up. Your stress response wants to make sure you notice when someone else in your life is struggling so that you can support each other. When life is difficult, your stress response wants you to be surrounded by people who care about you. Okay, so how is knowing this side of stress going to make you healthier? Well, oxytocin doesn't only act on your brain, it also acts on your body. And one of its main roles in your body is to protect your cardiovascular system from the effects of stress. It's a natural anti-inflammatory. It also helps your blood vessels stay relaxed during stress. But my favorite effect on the body is actually on the heart. Your heart has receptors for this hormone. And oxytocin helps heart cells regenerate and heal from any stress-induced damage. This stress hormone strengthens your heart. And the cool thing is that all of these physical benefits of oxytocin are enhanced by social contact and social support. So when you reach out to others under stress, either to seek support or to help someone else, you release more of this hormone, your stress response becomes healthier, and you actually recover faster from stress. I find this amazing that your stress response has a built-in mechanism for stress resilience. And that mechanism is human connection. I want to finish by telling you about one more study. And listen up, because this study could also save a life. This study tracked about 1,000 adults in the United States, and they ranged in age from 34 to 93. And they started the study by asking, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, how much time have you spent helping out friends, neighbors, people in your community? And then they used public records for the next 5 years to find out who died. Okay, so the bad news first. For every major stressful life experience, like financial difficulties or family crisis, that increased the risk of dying by 30%. But, and I hope you are expecting a but by now, but that wasn't true for everyone. People who spent time caring for others showed absolutely no stress-related increase in dying, 0. Caring created resilience. And so we see once again that the harmful effects of stress on your health are not inevitable. How you think and how you act can transform your experience of stress. When you choose to view your stress response as helpful, you create the biology of courage. And when you choose to connect with others under stress, you can create resilience. Now, I wouldn't necessarily ask for more stressful experiences in my life, but this science has given me a whole new appreciation for stress. Stress gives us access to our hearts. The compassionate heart that finds joy and meaning in connecting with others. And yes, your pounding physical heart working so hard to give you strength and energy. And when you choose to view stress in this way, you're not just getting better at stress, you're actually making a pretty profound statement. You're saying that you can trust yourself to handle life's challenges. And you're remembering that you don't have to face them alone. Thank you.
I mean, this is kind of amazing what you're telling us. It seems amazing to me that a belief about stress can make so much difference to someone's life expectancy. How would that extend to advice? Like if someone's making a lifestyle choice between, say, a stressful job and a non-stressful job, does it matter that which way they go, that it's equally wise to go for the stressful job so long as you believe that you can handle it in some sense?
Yeah, and one thing we know for certain is that chasing meaning is better for your health than trying to avoid discomfort. And so I would say that's really the best way to make decisions, is go after what it is that creates meaning in your life and then trust yourself to handle the stress that follows.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that point is a good one. That concluding point about chasing meaning is so valuable to us. And trust ourselves to handle the stress that follows. And when we feel the fight or flight response, to actually experience it as the biology of courage, is realizing that this is generating courage inside me. This is the energy that enables me to feel powerful, rather than be upset about feeling stress. And we can breathe our way to calm. We can start from where we are. And we can reach out for support. That's why oxytocin is a stress hormone. It's designed to get us to reach out for support when we're going through stress, and especially to help transform distress back over to calm and eustress. So one of the questions that we ask, and that maybe you could put your responses in the chat, are which methods of cultivating calm and the biology of courage are you inspired to try? And some of them are as simple as noticing that you're feeling stressed out, and that this actually is the biology, the physical sensations that our ancestors have experienced, that gives us the feeling that we can see as a feeling of courage. It's trying to give us the energy to move through this, right? And we can reach out for support. We can help other people who are hurting. And both of these ease up on our own stress, to reach out to others and support. And we can work to lower our set point of stress by relaxing our breath. So that's 3 strategies right there, is relaxing breath to lower our set point of stress. Realize that we're meant to go out and reach out to others who can help us deal with our own distress as well as soothe theirs, help soothe theirs. We need each other to offset stress. In fact, when we're with a group of people that we're having a good time with, we modulate each other's anxiety and stress. And you may actually notice that when you're with that group of friends that you feel really good with, not when there's power struggles and people who have issues with each other, but when the feelings are really good, then you basically are taking care of each other's stress as a group. So that's the second one, really being willing to reach out. A third one is a reframe in our own mind about that when we feel these intense emotions, we can kind of make our space bigger, like open yourself, imagine yourself that you're a big room and you've got plenty of room for these feelings, and then you can join in with them, the feelings of energy and intensity, and that it is the biology of courage that you're experiencing. So that's a bit of a reframe for us, a different way of thinking about it that can help us not be afraid of our own stressful reactions. All right. 3 tools, choose at least one to practice this week. Select at least one of the following tools we learned about to practice this week as part of this week's assignment. So you will, when you go into the assignment, you'll see that there's tools to choose from that you can practice over the course of the week. The first one is manage your nervous system like a Navy SEAL with the power of the breath. So here's another video you can watch. I've already talked to you guys who've attended today quite a bit about the breath, and I'll be including with this under the assignment some links that you can do to that. It's called the Yoga Nidra before bedtime relaxation meditation. This is you teaching, you realizing that you've got some control over increasing the number of moments in which you feel calm, and increasing your set point of feeling calm by dropping your breath into your deeper body, into the center of your body. That's where feeling centered comes from. And then 2, well, this is all part of it, training your nervous system to be calm. And these guided meditations are included in the assignment. So they're easy links to go to when you're there, but you can also reference them here. 3, get your mind on your own side. This is about being on your own side rather than be stressed about feeling stressed. We can realize that this is the biology of the courage. And here's an animated video clip that you can watch if you want a better understanding about the divided brain. And activate your right brain. This is, remember I told you that getting out in nature creates the diffused perception with your eyes. What's called wide eyes, or even hakala is a Polynesian term for it, where you can see out of your peripheral vision. And when your eyes are moving laterally back and forth, that also, Huberman also has a video on this, that also helps us feel relaxed. And that happens when we're like driving. That's why a lot of people get relaxed when they're driving. And when you're out in nature, you're walking around and your eyes are taking in the larger expanse of the scene. And that activates the right brain. This video talks about the difference between left and right brain function, which you might find enjoyable. Left brain is essentially focusing, grasping, taking things apart, analyzing, dissecting. Right brain is a holistic view, feeling the whole, right? Your whole life, sitting with an entire person, not analyzing them, experiencing the wholeness of the person, going into mindfulness states where you drop into the moment and you really feel the richness of this moment that you're in, where you allow yourself to be there, is moving more into a right brain state. And we do a lot better when we toggle back and forth rather than stay into the focused left brain orientation. And so the question will be, which of the 3 did you decide to try and want to focus on? And then Hansen discusses 2 more topics in this chapter. One of them is paper tigers, which is and these are also, I think these are explores during the discussion where you choose one of these. Oh no, it's during the assignment. Where paper tigers, you can select this one. These are about when we, our mind makes big deals out of things that are not big deals. So that's a really neat reflection that you'll like reading. It's short, and these are provided. They're a short segment. And then the second one is how to relax anger. Some methods for cooling the fires of anger. And that's it. That's it for this week, you guys. Thank you all very much. It was great to see you today, and I very much appreciate you coming. And I very much enjoyed watching you laugh. So thank you for laughing. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And I look forward to reading your reflections inside. And I hope that you will keep breathing from the center of your body. Let that breath drop down. Take really good care of yourself that way. And reach out if you need any kind of help. You know, we have sort of fight, flight, withdraw, freeze response, right? And sometimes it does regenerate us to withdraw, but often it also regenerates us to reach out. So let's remember that reaching out for social connection is one of the things that we are meant to do when we are stressed. We are designed to do when we are stressed. So bless you all. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.